I golfed at one of the nicest courses. It's actually 5 minutes from my house, but
that course looked awesome.
I'll have to send you some photos, man. It is sweet.
I saw your Instagram. It looked great. Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday night. Getting ready to start the open line. So get ready to give us a call because I left my voice in Como last night. And we have lots to talk about. We can talk about the what you thought of the response to Hurricane Ian this past week, because last Sunday night we were together. Well, we'll talk about it in a second. And who knew the parks would be closed for 2 days between here and there. And we can talk about Epcot 40, what you saw, what you liked, what you thought was missing. And I'll try to be able to talk to you about it.
You're not going to say a word.
We'll see. And if you're a Georgia fan and you call, I'll hang up on you. No, just kidding. Unless you're, yeah, I might. If you say your name's like Kirby Smart, out of here.
The Lions game was crazy today too. Like the Lions, man, just like
did they win?
Just killed me. No, I mean they were behind the entire game, but it was a weird game. They lost 48-45. Apparently, it was the
score 45 points and lose.
Dude, and then you lose. That's how terrible defense is. But it was so crazy. It was the first ever 48-45 NFL score.
Really?
Yeah.
I would think like back in the greatest.
I know, in the 90s,
like the Rams in the 2000s, they had a lot of those high scoring games because we didn't have much of a defense, but we scored.
So the Lions are 1-3 now, and their point differential is -1. I mean, that's how they're just in every single game.
That's bad luck. Oh my gosh. Okay. Rhonda Lee's here. Rhonda Lee, we were asking about you last week because we were worried about the hurricane now this wasn't Ian. This was Fiona. It was going up to Nova Scotia, and we knew that you were missing for a couple of recordings. So we are so glad that you're safe because I was worried about you. I knew that was up in Nova Scotia. It's so glad to have you back. I guess maybe you're out of power, but yeah, we were asking about you last week. So we're glad you're here. Whew, that's good. New Hampshire.
And then Taylor won Big Brother. That was awesome. I can't believe Monty took Taylor with him.
If anybody plays Big Brother in the future, they better not say they're from Michigan because
you're like target number one. Even though Taylor was target number 1 too, and she won. That's unbelievable. I love it.
Michiganders are like prone to win.
Serious. I should audition.
You should, dude. You money in the bank. Oh my God, John's out at Lambert Airport right now. Hey, have a safe flight. All right, here we go. We're gonna try this. This is gonna be ugly. Again, I apologize for the voice.
Hold on. I gotta read this thing though. I am the finalist of singing in the shower contest. What?
Dude, send me the link and I'll definitely vote for you. Now I can sing in the shower.
Dude, I want to be a singing in the shower finalist.
Send me the link so I can get in the contest and go up against you, Fulton. Because Scott, separate showers.
Separate showers. But you're in trouble because I'm a Michigander and we win all reality shows.
That's true. Yeah, you could sing with Dan. You can sing with Taylor.
Yeah, Nicole.
Yeah, Nicole Franzel.
That's the same. Michigan rules.
That is
Big Brother. Actually, I think Xavier was from Michigan too.
Was he?
The guy who won last year.
Yeah, he might have been.
Yeah,
he was. I think you're exactly right. Oh my God, I'm wasting my voice on all this stuff that we don't need to be talking about. We're talking about Michigan reality TV and the Lions. Okay, let's do this. I've been trying not to talk all day, and here I go.
You never thought you'd talk about the Lions, but now you got a buddy that lives in Michigan.
I love that though. This is what it's all about. All right, here we go. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the BOGP open line for Sunday night, October 2nd, 2022. My name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast, of course, from beourguestpodcast.com. And first of all, I want to apologize for the voice because if you're listening here on Thursday on the feed, I did leave my voice back in Columbia, Missouri on a wild Saturday night. I had to give my all for the old Mizzou, and we almost got him across the finish line. Keyword, almost. But I did everything I could. My Apple Watch was giving me alerts. My body couldn't have taken any more. My emotions are still raw. In my voice, my throat is on fire, and it's almost 24 hours later. But we are here. We play through pain on the Be Our Guest podcast. We do not miss a start. And we're going to have a good time taking your calls, talking all things Disney today. And also joining me today, he's my Yadier Molina to my Adam Wainwright. We have your friend of mine, hashtag Scotty G. What's up, Scott?
Hey, Mike, I still have my voice because my Spartans never even stood a chance yesterday against Maryland.
Oh man,
And
who would have thought? Because you guys had all the momentum early in the season.
yeah, well, we played Western and Akron to start the season, so we felt pretty good then. But yeah, some really tough losses, and guess what? It doesn't get any better. We got Ohio State coming to East Lansing this upcoming weekend, so it's going to be a tough year for the Spartans. But hey, that's all right. We're here to talk Disney. We're going to have a good time. Some good stuff just happened. The 51st anniversary of Walt Disney World, and what everyone was talking about this weekend was Epcot 40th.
So we are going to hit some news here off the top of the show. It's going to be a brief news segment just to kind of spur some ideas for calls, because tonight, more than any other night, we're going to need your calls at 407-413-9395, mini trip reports. You want to talk about any of these things we're going to bring up here in just a second. That's what we're going to do, because I can't talk a whole lot. Scott's going to kind of lead it, but a couple things we thought we might talk about. First of all, you mentioned the 51st anniversary of Walt Disney World. We were there for the 50th. So that I can't believe that was a year ago yesterday at this point. What do you recall? Like, what was your highlight from this time last year?
I was just surprised at like how easy it was to get on attractions that day. Do you remember like the
Yeah.
build up to that? We were just like, oh my god, like it's gonna be 3 hour lines for Space Mountain, and like you're just not gonna be able to walk. Like we were able to walk, we were able to do stuff. The eating was crazy, but we were lucky that Marlessa got us that Crystal Palace ADR, so we were able to eat and sit down. But I was just surprised that just how easy it was to navigate through the parks, I would say, except when it got at night. When it became time for enchantment, then things got kind of crazy. And as we all know, that was kind of a disappointing show for us the first time through. It's grown on me a little bit, a year later. But reflecting back on the year, though, Mike, like I'm still kind of disappointed in the 50th. Like I thought there was going to be more throughout the whole like first year. Like we gotten some taste of things, like the gold statues, like these new fireworks shows, but like I feel like it's just kind of been flat. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, though, Mike.
No, I'm the same way. I mean, I think, it was an odd time, right? We were coming out of the pandemic. We were easing our ways back into getting the parks into full capacity, people being more comfortable with travel. But I have to admit that I think Disney used that as a crutch to kind of, maybe go like 80% on putting things out there that they could have. And I think that as Disney fans, and again, I know, and I say this many times, that Disney doesn't look at catering to us. And I use the collective us as the Disney fans listening to Disney podcasts, the super fans. But this is an opportunity to really celebrate folks like us. The example is, again, this weekend, for the 40th anniversary of Epcot. I know Epcot's a park in transition and it doesn't have a lot of places to get together and celebrate and stuff like that. And they did. I mean, they used American Gardens Theater. They had some, folks get up there on stage. They had Mariachi Cobre get recognized. I didn't realize some of those members had been there since day one. There were two members of the band. Can
Incredible.
you believe? Because Marriott, you're with me on this.
Oh, I
Mariachi
love it.
Cobre, one of the best things overall in Epcot ever, right?
So it's one of the best things, and I love to stop and watch them. I'll tell you, when I was there in August, like I found our third amigo, the third member of the fan club, and that's Wade. My man just like stopped, insisted that Shelly dance with him to their music, and like he just like, I gotta watch the whole set. I can't just walk by here and not watch. And I appreciated that so much because they're awesome. And you see so many people walk by and just like, oh, that's nice. It was awesome to know that there's folks like us that do like to stop and watch them because they're great.
They are great. And it was good to see that kind of stuff, because our friend Dr. Kai is down there with his daughter Ella. They are, I know we're all classic Epcot fans here, but Dr. Kai and Ella, they are Epcot fans to a whole different level. I mean, they know more about Epcot than I could ever imagine to know. They know all the histories. They just know their stuff, and they celebrated. And they've been down there this weekend. They're hanging out at Beach Club. They're going into Epcot. They're going to all the official and unofficial celebrations. They've been sharing a lot of that on social media, which I've been getting a huge kick out of since I wasn't able to get there. And I'm glad to see that. But like you said, Disney is such a large company that has such a history and such an access to resources that I just think that they've gone a little thin, as you kind of mentioned, with the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World as a whole and the 40th anniversary of Epcot specifically this past weekend. I don't know what else they could have done, but I just feel like they could have done more.
Yeah, I agree. But another topic for tonight too, like we actually should have kicked off with this though, was Ian.
Yep.
Like just big shout out to the cast members, like pulling it together. Like I know there's probably some disgruntled guests down there that are, their vacation was ruined by a hurricane, which that you can't ever plan for. But big shout out to all the cast members just being there for the guests that were staying on site and reopening the parks. Like I thought that was a pretty quick turnaround. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Mike, but then big shout out to everyone that's been impacted by it. I know a lot of friends, right, Mike, in Florida that we know are impacted by the hurricane. So just want to shout out to you that we're thinking about you, and hopefully you can get through it, and you'll be able to bounce back for sure.
Absolutely. I've been thinking everybody impacted by Ian. Cause I mean, that's the funny thing is that with this podcast is that, I mean, whether, it's Scott and I here talking, Pam, Ricky, but we're all in this together. You're listening to the show. So many of us have made connections through, we ran a race and we met some friends through the Lizards, or we just happen to be like, I'm going on a solo trip. Maybe I can meet another listener of the podcast, and these friendships blossom. And it seems like the lucky ones of us move out of the cold places in January, and some people move to Florida. And now we all have friends in Florida at some point. And when you see these storms moving through, and this was a big one, which, we were all together last Sunday night, and, this was going to be a hurricane. We knew that, but I don't think I can't recall like really the mood last Sunday night, but I don't think we knew this was going to be a category 4, almost 5 that went on the path of Charlie, right, over Central Florida. This was something that kind of developed after the Sunday night show and kind of took over.
Yep. Just crazy, but definitely thinking about you all. I know our friend Aaron, Mike, you didn't get power until this morning as of this recording, which is crazy. I mean, that's 3, 4, 5 days almost. I mean, that's nuts. So craziness. But Florida always bounces back. You guys are strong. So we're here thinking about you at the Be Our Guest.
We're thinking of you, and Mizzou's going to beat you in the swamp next Saturday. We love Florida until next Saturday at noon Eastern, MIZ. We have our first call. Thank you for giving us a call. You're on with Scotty G and Mike. What's going on? Who's joining us?
Hey, Mike and Scotty G. It's Greg Shore.
Hey, Greg. What's going on? Say hi to Scott.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, Scott. Just tuned in. Things are crazy here. We just moved to Virginia a couple weeks ago and trying to get settled. But yeah, you were talking about the hurricane, talking about the storm, and just want to give a nod to all the comings and goings the past week with Hurricane Ian. And I heard your podcast. Sorry, that's a 3-year-old. Giving a shout out to the Hurricane Center and the forecasters and the National Weather Service folks, TV folks, everybody that chipped in to get the right messaging to them. It just resonated, and I wanted to thank you for that.
They did a tremendous job of trying to do what they could to keep everybody safe. Let me get your thoughts on the reaction. Do you think, as far as Disney as a corporate, they're a for-profit business, they don't want to be closed any longer than they need to, but they also, the first key is guest safety and cast member safety. Where do you think they landed on a scale there with this? Because they were closed 2 days. They closed the campgrounds, the tree houses, some of the bungalows by the water. I thought it was near perfect in my opinion, but I'd like to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah. And honestly, I didn't follow it, what they did as much. I'd see headlines here and there. Before pre-COVID, the word was they had closed like 4 times, in the 40 some odd years leading up to that. And then COVID happened, obviously. So it was, the book on them was that they never closed. Right.
Right.
But I think, with a lot that's happened even since COVID, but more emphasis on life safety. I mean, a lot of folks fall from even fallen trees. Right. One did from the remnants of Ian, I think in Virginia, when, a large piece of a tree fell on, I think it was a vehicle. You just can't rest on these things. And life safety is obviously the first and foremost. So if they are judging, how strong the winds are, I think there's a lot more information now, obviously, when you get forecast at the whim, you can see what the winds are going to be. You can see what the timing is going to be. I think, being proactive and saying, look, life safety is great. but we do have this kind of window that we can play with. That's the best thing to do.
So I don't know if you know this, but so our listeners may not know, but you do work at the National Weather Service and at a pretty high level. So that's super interesting to me because I am a weather nerd. I was excited to be down during Hurricane Charlie in 2004, which again, my house wasn't there. I shouldn't say that, but I mean, I want to see weather. I was excited that I've seen a couple of tornadoes out in the middle of Illinois, driving home from a couple of baseball games when I played Legion ball. They were safely in the distance. I was a little scared because I was in an MGB on an old 2-lane road. So I was like, I hope it doesn't get any closer, but it was way out in the farm field and it wasn't a big one. But let me ask you this. I don't know if you know this answer, but does a place like Walt Disney World have on-staff meteorologists, like as far as to make calls for things like closing Typhoon Lagoon, Blizzard Beach, closing attractions, or how do you know how they decide that to keep their guests safe, or do they just get a call from the weather? How does that work for them? Do you have any idea?
No, I believe they do contract. There are companies, there are weather companies that do risk management, weather forecasting, somewhere in between. And I'm not exactly sure who they use, but they don't typically, I think, call the National Weather Service. Usually the Weather Service for, large venues like that works with a county emergency manager, who might request, hey, could you give us a sort of an on-site forecast for a specific outdoor event or something like that, and then they sort of share information that way. But Walt Disney probably has, one or more companies that provide weather information for what they need, which, usually that's what they are for. The Weather Service provides a more general public forecast, if you will, but we also do watches and warnings in a larger, broader sense. And weather companies can give more precise, pinpoint on a map forecast, for a fee, obviously. But I think that's probably what Walt Disney World has done for a number of years, and maybe they found their sweet spot with it.
Yeah, I've always wondered that because like Scott and I run a lot of the Run Disney events. And so there have been mornings where we've gotten up and we're always playing the armchair meteorologist, like, oh, that sells in Kissimmee, and it's moving to the southeast, and like, okay, we're staying in this part of property. They're not going to cancel the race.
Yeah.
We got a good, 0.7 of a mile, like that's not safe. We're just, we're hope forecasting at that point. But I've always wondered, because safety is of the utmost. And I think it's kind of like, at NASA, they
Florida
get go fever.
Florida cells are, the little thunderstorm cells are raised up. They're very different in how they behave, because they kind of go up and come down. So it looks like it's moving, but it's really not. It's basically just kind of moving forward in place, falling out, and then another one develops nearby and then does the same thing, and then rinse, repeat 1,000 times. So, it's very tricky to look at the radar and go, oh yeah, this one's moving. Wait, what did it just do?
And it's probably not good for Scott and I to be forecasting the weather, considering we're just hoping to get the race in. We're like, it'll be okay.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, exactly. And by the way, you're not the only weather enthusiast. There are plenty out there. I'm from the Midwest, so I used to storm chase back in college. When I was a preteen, I would jump on our one-story house and watch thunderstorms come in western Kansas. So, and then of course, these days I couldn't do that. But yes, there are plenty of people who are very interested in extreme weather, no matter what it is. So you're among friends there.
Yeah, the one thing I do miss, I did this with my gifted classes every year in the fall, is that I had a big map of the Caribbean, of the Gulf area, so the southeastern United States, the Gulf, and it was laminated, and we would always plot all the hurricanes, like latitude, longitude that's how I teach latitude and longitude to my kids. And we plot them each day at a certain time and watch the progress of, the storms they come in. We'd name them. We'd talk about that stuff. And I do miss that discussion. I mean, it was, because to my students in Missouri, a hurricane is mythical, because we're never going to experience one in Missouri. It's just like a dragon. But it was a neat way to see, the power of nature. And then, because these kids at some days could live in a tropical place where it becomes real. And I always tried to let them know, you got to be careful with weather because it's powerful and it could hurt you, but it's also an awesome thing. And, it's a cool thing to study. So we appreciate your colleagues because, countless lives, I'm sure, were saved because of the warnings and because of how you got the message out there to keep people, in the know and safe.
It's an incredible team effort, and every year we look to improvements in weather modeling, whether it's for forecasting intensity of hurricanes, movement and placement of thunderstorms, flash flooding, everything in between. So we look for improvements constantly and continuously. As you're never going to get there, but you can always keep fine tuning it as you go. So it's just an amazing, once you have the mission of life and safety, that really makes everything else fall into place.
It's very cool. Well, hey, thank you again for the call and thanks for everything you do for us. Anything else you want to talk about, Epcot or any of these celebrations?
Yeah, before you go, maybe you guys can toss this around and others can opine. We've got a 3.5-year-old boy who, the world's his oyster, right? He wants to run and play and jump. A year ago, when we went to Disney World, there was no fear, right? He could run and walk into anything, and everything was great and fun. This year, we tried to do not rope drop, but once the park opened in Magic Kingdom, we tried to go in with the crowds, and he just was not he wasn't used to it. He grew up most of his life at home, with COVID happening in a very critical development stage. But then, of course, we're trying to go through the gates, and he wanted nothing to do with all that. The next day, we kind of took it his pace, went to Epcot really slowly, let everybody rush in the gates and the doors, and he just kind of slowly meandered in, moseyed in, and they even have this little playground, which is great. We went there a couple of times, and he spent some time, and it kind of helped recenter him. Just food for thought for folks who have gone through this or going through this. Any help, any words of wisdom for that kind of thing going on, and what to look forward to as he goes into 4, 5, and beyond.
That's a great point. Yeah, we'll throw that out there for our listeners and see what because my youngest is 14, so.
Last thing, when do you think they'll start remembering? What's the kind of the average, if you will, for he or she will remember this trip, and they'll leave you with that. So
I should know this.
So much.
I have a degree in elementary education. I should know this. I would guess around 4. I don't know, maybe before. I don't know. Hey, Greg, thanks for the call, and you stay safe. And again, thanks for everything you and your colleagues do. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Greg. Talk soon.
Take care. Bye-bye. I don't know. It's okay, Scott. Start with the second part first. When do you think kids start to remember? Like what is Emily said? Like what are her first memories? I almost want to pull Mallory down here, except she's on crutches. I don't want her falling down the steps.
It's funny. So she remembers some things from our first trip, which she would have been like 3.5. But I think part of it is she's heard us talk about it so much. She's seen so many pictures, so that almost, I think the memory for her is us talking about it. But like, this is what I've always said. I get this question all the time. Like, oh, I can't take my 2-year-old because they won't remember it. But I always say you as a parent will remember it. And that is just as important. Like you'll remember those first hugs with Mickey Mouse for your kid. They might not remember it. You'll capture it on the photo. They can see it, but you'll remember that. And that'll make your heart so happy. So that's why I say you can take your kid at any age because you will remember. But I think it's probably about 4 or 5, Mike. I think 5 is probably the magic number.
Yeah, I'm guessing 4 or 5-ish. I mean, because I have foggy memories. I mean, again, it could be because I saw pictures or, I heard the
stories. Probably is. Yeah.
I didn't even think of. And here's the thing, like Greg said too, a couple points real quick. And I know we have our next caller on the line, so hang tight. Just 1 second, please. Is that, think about that though. The kids that are like 4, half of their life was during lockdown. I didn't even consider that, because my kids are older now. I mean, if half of your life in that really critical developmental time, crowds could be really overwhelming. So I would let the crowds. Rope drop would be a bad time. Maybe you go a couple, 90 minutes after rope drop, even though you're going to have to do just for now, until you can ease back into things. I know it's not going to be ideal. And I think the playgrounds are a great idea to give them some space. Yep. Anything else you can think of, Scott?
I know. I was just thinking about for Emily. I mean, she wouldn't have done much either, though. I guess we would have gone to like some zoos or whatever for like some social activities. But I mean, she didn't go to like a daycare or anything. Like she was always with us or like with my parents. So she wasn't like exposed to much before our first Walt Disney trip too. But again, like I think you just got to go slow. I think you got to go at the kids' pace a lot of times, you know. And when they need naps or when they have to break or get fed or whatever, like you just know it's a different trip and like they're gonna kind of lead it for you in a way.
Absolutely. All right, Katie's in the live chat. Just wanted to congratulate Katie on another full marathon. I believe that was today. She was out in the Pacific
Oh,
Northwest.
congratulations. I thought you were going to talk about the other part of her comment. Yeah, congratulations on the full. Yes.
Yes. Well, I didn't see the other. Oh, yeah. And also that they beat Michigan State. Okay. I wasn't going to say that, but I just did. Okay. We have our next caller. Thank you for being so patient. Hey, who's joining us?
Hello.
Hello. Who is this?
Hello.
Hello.
It's Melissa. Melissa from Australia.
Hey, Melissa from Australia. Happy Monday.
Yes, happy Monday.
It's so weird. What's going on?
I just wanted to say hi and let you know we got our bookings on the Disney Wonder out of Sydney.
Yes. We talked about it and it happened.
Yes, very exciting.
So now let me ask you this. Have you ever, obviously you've never been on a Disney cruise ship before?
Yes, we did the Disney Wonder out of Miami
Okay.
about 5 years ago. And then we're doing the Disney Wish next year when we come over. So
You'll be
but to
an
do
old
it
pro.
here, will be a totally different experience.
So what are you looking forward to the most about this cruise down in your part of the world? Because obviously you've been on even that same ship before. What has you so excited?
That we can do it with family, that we can get to share it with others. It's a long way to bring everyone over there.
Right. That is going to be exciting. And, you know, I'm wondering if it's going to be, I'm curious because obviously I don't see a lot of the bookings. I wonder what the makeup of those particular sailings are going to be because it is so far away from the States. But I think that, there's a lot of interest from folks in North America with Australia. And I think that connection to the Disney Cruise Line is a strong hook. So I'm wondering how many like Canadians and Americans you're going to see on the ship when you do these sailings. That'll be interesting.
Yes, it will.
That's going to be fun. So what else is on your mind?
Yes. Oh, just I could actually call in because we had a day off here, and I love listening to you guys all the time, and helps me plan for my next trip.
Well, that is awesome. I wish what is it, a holiday down there today?
Yes, Queen's birthday.
Dang, we need a queen so we can have a day off. We need a queen so we can have a birthday. We don't have that. We just have tomorrow's Monday. Let's just go to work.
Back to work.
I don't know. I take my queen's birthday off every year. My wife. I always make sure I take her birthday off.
Scott's on it. Oh, that's funny. Well, hey, we appreciate you calling in and enjoy the day off and give our regards to the Queen.
I will do.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. You have a good one. Thanks for calling in. We appreciate you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
We're talking to tomorrow in Australia.
Yeah. I'm all about that sailing though. Like it's just, you need the time off, like alone just for like traveling, like that's what kills me.
Now that I fly though, the world's my oyster. Like I got to do, because California is the furthest I've gone. I want to go like on a long flight now.
Yeah. There you go. Just make sure you walk around and stretch those legs out.
I was supposed to say, did you see my ankle on Instagram? My ankle would be like, whoa.
You already got to fly Delta One where you can like just lay back and like sleep.
Yeah, put my ankle up like in a sling. All right, we have our next call. I promise I'll stop talking about my foot. All right, who's joining us? Hello, caller. We have a caller from the 603 area code. Hello. Going once, going twice. Caller, are you there?
We lost them.
They're there.
603, I had to check, is New Hampshire.
Oh. Huh. We get a lot of calls from New Hampshire. We got a couple people in the chat from New Hampshire. Hello, caller.
That's a state I forget about. I mean, not that like I love all of the states, but that's one I forget about. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, not right now.
No.
All right, we'll hang up there and give us a try again. 603. I'm glad you looked that up for New Hampshire because we get calls from New Hampshire quite often, actually. Now that I look at the log over the past few months, maybe it was just Skype. So give it another try. Skype's kind of wonky sometimes. Make sure I got that set right. Yep. Okay, so let's see. Oh, we got another caller here.
Oh man, they're pouring in.
They are pouring in. It's our good friend in the chat, Corwin of Amber. What's going on, buddy? How's it going?
Not too bad. Getting ready to start a new job tomorrow. Realizing that what that means is limited vacation time. So I'm not got any Disney plans for probably 2 years now.
Yeah.
You know what, though? If you lived in Australia, you'd be off tomorrow.
Your new job will start on Tuesday.
Exactly. Dude. Quick, move to Australia tonight.
So
that's the hard part about changing jobs, though. That's why, like, I just had my 14th anniversary at my current job, and like, I mean, I love my company I work for. I love my job, and like, sometimes people are like, "Do you ever think about like switching jobs?" And I'm like, "No, because I got a PTO bank that I don't want to give up." That's usually the number one reason.
Dude travels more than anybody. I'm a travel agent. I can't travel as much as this guy.
Yeah. So now I've been a lot of my trips have been sort of multi days, long time. Now I'm looking at, well, if I'm going to do anything in the next 2 years, I'm probably going to be have to do it on a weekend and just maybe 2 days before the weekend, build in that time and be able to come back and not be able to spend a lot of time. So it's going to probably mean Disneyland rather than Disney World kind of things.
Yeah. Weekends and holidays will be your friend for sure.
So you'll be with lots of friends.
Unfortunately, I'm working for a company that has probably the least amount of holidays I've ever worked at.
Wow. Okay.
Normally,
weekends it is.
10 or 11. Yes. Normally you see 10 or 11 holidays.
Yeah.
This company has 7.
Wow. Yeah, that feels kind of low. Yeah. Interesting.
You know what though? There's a lot of school districts hiring teachers if you want to be off.
My plans, like I say, my plans are going to be maybe quick trips to Disneyland, maybe if I can work them in somehow.
Yeah.
So I've got a delayed gratification on Disney for a couple of years.
But it'll work out. Don't stress about it because you never know what the future holds. But hey, give us some
congratulations on the new job for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Man. I mean that's cool. Yeah. Hopefully it's something you enjoy. So what'd you think about this past week? I mean, we had a hurricane, we had Epcot 40. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts on Epcot 40. Well, I watched a bunch of the bloggers and such, and I couldn't tell anything special was happening other than really long lines for merch.
Yeah, those lines were crazy.
And you see people. I mean, it was just amazing to see some of these people who you could not see their body because they were carrying so many bags of merch as they were walking around the park. But I also watched a lot of the bloggers who had live streams going of the hurricane, and it was just interesting to see, it slowly build around the park. There was one couple who had it about a mile from the park, and you could just slowly see it build and build and build, and until it was just like hitting the area, then go away. And I'm just going, oh, is the castle going to go down? I can see just the top of the castle over there.
Did you see, Scott, I don't know if you saw this too. There was like a rumor going on around social media. This was like a month or two ago that they were going to take the castle out of the Magic Kingdom. Like they were going to knock it down. Like I saw this all over the place for a couple of months. Like who puts that stuff out there?
Mentioning that on the various streams.
People are dumb.
But they had heard that. They'd heard that. And well,
it's probably the same person that took in their 10-year-old as a 2-year-old.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, exactly.
Well, one of them was saying that they know that the it's built on a building. It's really a second story of a building. The one rumor was that they've actually built it so they can just lower it down into the lower story of the building.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the button's over by the well. You just got go like those entertainers that pop out of the floor like at a concert. Is that
yes.
so they're all right there below the stage?
I paid just to see that.
I would too. You know what though? The first time, get back to like, stuff that Disney does well. The first time I saw the projections on the castle, and they did that part of the show where it looked like a rocket going up in the air. For one split second, my brain couldn't comprehend. I was like, holy crap, Cinderella Castle is actually floating off the ground. It's going into space. Because it was like, I wasn't used to the projections. The first time I ever saw it was like, was it Happily Ever After? Maybe it was because Wishes didn't use any projections, did it?
It was Happily Ever After. It was kind of like the dragon when they did the New Fantasyland, right?
I
was like
not,
flying
I was
like
like
the dragon.
Yeah, because like I was like, oh my god, the castle's coming off the ground. Got me.
What I really wish I could have seen, it's nice seeing all the vloggers with the actual storm and all that kind of stuff, and then some of the aftermath around the park afterwards. But what I would have liked to have seen, the logistics of the cleanup that went on after that.
Right.
That would have been just to see how they organized it and see just the crews of people going through and making sure everything was ready to open the parks that next day.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, just from a travel agent perspective, I had guests that were staying, let's see, they're down there now. So they were staying October 1st to the 7th was their reservation. And they had a reservation for a premium campsite at Fort Wilderness. Well, obviously what Disney did was they closed Fort Wilderness, the whole campground. They closed the bungalows at the Polynesian. They closed I think they closed all Boulder Ridge. Yes, I know they closed the cabins. Yeah. They also closed the tree houses at Saratoga. Anything those are going to be more vulnerable to the high winds. So, well, anyway, they were going down, and I was calling and calling. I was calling like 5 times a day. I was calling every 2 hours because, and the thing was, they had no availability to move these guests to any room on property. I'm like, look, they are on their way. Like, well, they can change the dates or they can cancel. I'm like, that is not an option. They're in their cars driving. They're 5 hours into the drive. They're in Georgia. I'm like, I can't tell them change the dates. They're halfway to Walt Disney. They're going to show up. I'm like, they're going to show up. Like, where do I tell them to go? If Fort Wilderness is closed, we do not need like a Wally World scene here. Like, there's not going to be a moose out front that tells them that the park is closed. I told the cast member, I'm like, I'm not trying to be mean to you. I'm like, I get you're not making the decisions. I'm like, I'm with you here, but I'm like, I'm just telling you the facts. These people are on the way. They don't need to stay. I understand the campground's closed. They're not going to stay in their trailer, but they are going down 75 at this point, probably about 80 miles an hour south toward you. They're going to need a hotel. And I'm like, you got 22,000 hotel rooms or something. And it was a family of 5, which kind of made it a little difficult. I'm like, I know that you can't maybe find a room for, a 5 because that's hard, where that'd be like Riverside or Caribbean Beach or, a deluxe. I'm like, but we can do 2 rooms at a value at some point. Like, I am not being picky. Like, there's got to be 2 rooms at sports somewhere. It's something. They finally found one. Like it took forever. We got them 2 rooms at French Quarter, the smallest resort, ironically enough. But it was just like, that's how tight the inventory is right now. It was that hard. Like, it was at the 11th hour. I was sweating bullets for like 24 hours because I felt for these guests, because Disney said, yeah, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. And at the last minute, cancel or reschedule, which would have been fine a week ago, maybe not while they're trucking down 75. It's too late, but again, nobody expected it to be like it was. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just glad that's over for now.
I wonder how many travel agents aged another couple years through all this.
Here's the thing. Let me just tell you from a cast member or from a travel agent's perspective, COVID puts everything in perspective. Hurricanes used to freak me out. Like, I remember we had a hurricane where the Fantasy had 1 cruise canceled about 5 years ago. I freaked out that cruise was canceled. I'm like, how could they not take a ship out for that one sailing? I thought it was the end of the world. And then Walt Disney World closed for 6 months, and like the cruise ship sat for a year. Every one of them in the whole planet. You know what? I can handle a hurricane at this point. It's not so bad. That's what I told the cast members. Like, dude, it's all good. It's 2 days. It's not a half a year. It's fine. It was a little stressful, but it's, COVID changes everything. So we'll be fine. So yeah, anything else you want to, for the good of the cause, besides you got to get some good sleep tonight because you got to make a good first impression.
Yeah, well, no, it's nothing big coming up. I'm just living the dreams of that last trip to Disneyland, and figure that'll hold me for a while.
So one more thing, because you were out there for D23, still looking back on it, what was what was the fondest memory at this point?
The fondest memory, actually, the fondest memory was meeting up with vloggers and friends who I've only known online and such. People that I do Patreon with and things like that, and got to say hello to them and meet them, and just it was just hanging out was really the biggest thing. I'm more of a hangout person. My wife is more of a go-to panels person. I'm still hoping that we're still debating whether we'll go back again. I wasn't really impressed on how well it was run. As a person who runs events myself, I said there are decisions they made that I would not have made. But overall, it was a good time, and I think just hanging out and being part of the atmosphere was the best thing for me.
Hey, that's what it's all about when it boils down to everything. So good stuff, Don. Hey, good luck on the new gig tomorrow, and don't be a stranger. Don't let it keep you away.
Okie dokie.
All right, you take care. Good talking to you, my friend.
Good. Bye.
All right, bye-bye. All righty, 407-413-9395. So what do you think about what Don said about the cleanup, the logistics of a hurricane, right? I mean, because everything has to be
sounds like a great Disney Plus special, right? Like
right. I mean, you'd have to have the camera crews would have to be there, but I mean, you would, if you
could get the camera crews in and show them
awesome.
like cleaning stuff up. Like, dude, I would be all in on that documentary just to learn more.
You
about
nailed
that.
it. I would see. I don't watch a lot of Disney Plus stuff, but I'd be all over that. And speaking of the third person who loves mariachi Cobra, we're heading up to the land of Lincoln. No, that's Illinois. Well, you're close to Lincoln. It's Wade. Hey, we're gonna all three go in together, business venture. We're gonna get a food truck, and we're gonna sell roasted ears of corn outside Cornhusker games for $7 an ear, and we're gonna be millionaires. Just saying.
I tell you what, I was thinking about last night at the game, and my voice a little trash, but because I've got a stupid cold, so I was thinking about last night at the game. I'm like, where's the Mexican street corn? Here we are with 87,000 people cheering for the Cornhuskers, but not an ear corn in sight.
I can't believe
it's a millionaire idea.
That just hit me because Scott was tearing up the corn at Disneyland. I wanted some. I just never got some because I was never hungry when we went past it. I always got other stuff. I always got churros and stuff. And then I got to thinking, I'm like, they're called the Cornhuskers. And that's why I had to ask you. I was like, surely at the Nebraska games they sell sweet, roasted corn on the cob. And they don't. What a business opportunity.
It's a missed opportunity.
Not one ear corn anywhere, unless somebody brought one in.
Unless they're tailgating with it, yes.
That's what Scott Frost will be doing.
Too soon.
Anyway, what's going on, buddy?
Ray, I just had to call in. Mike, I almost sent you a picture. We were watching the Missouri-Georgia game on my phone while we were at the Husker game. I told my son, I go, take a picture of my phone playing the Missouri-Georgia game right now with the Huskers playing in the background. And then, a couple minutes later, I saw the finish, and I thought, I'm not going to send this to Mike right now. So
that's the rule, right?
We talked about this a couple weeks ago.
You have to wait 3 to 4 hours before contact.
That's right, exactly. And it was late at night, so I didn't want to
I didn't reach out to Mike until this morning. I just I didn't even bring it up.
Luckily, I had zero signal in the stadium because it was packed and the signal's terrible in the Furrow Field. And the thing was, I was telling Scott this in the pre-show before we went live. I almost got into it with Georgia fans were in front of us, and there was a guy behind me in a Michigan hoodie. Now we're at a Georgia Mizzou game. Guy in a Michigan hoodie spills beer on my wife twice. Almost got in a fight with that guy too. It was intense, man. Not only were we fighting to knock off the number one team in the country, I'm going at it in all angles, man.
I just love that Mike said I almost got in a fight with that guy too, meaning that there was another fight that he possibly would have gotten into.
right?
That's why I have no voice.
There's the Michigan guy. You're okay. You're allowed to do that, Mike. So
I turned around. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I didn't say this out loud. I just turned around and like, the dude's got a Michigan hoodie on. I'm like, there are 60,000 people here for a Georgia Mizzou game, and you're spilling beer on my wife, and you got on a Michigan hoodie. I gotta call Scott.
I mean, I did wear a Michigan State shirt to a Michigan Iowa game, but it was for the Big Ten. It was the Big Ten
This had
championship.
no connection. Like,
Yeah.
this is a SEC football game.
Yeah, I know.
What are you doing?
And Georgia smoked Michigan in the college football playoff. I don't. Maybe he lost a bet or something. Who knows?
Oh yeah, no, he was
that's
drunk.
it.
Anyway, so what'd you think of the weekend and or the hurricane or what's been going on? Because people like shut up about the game.
I tell you, I know it's like college sports kind of showdown. I think, I heard you guys mention at the beginning of the show, not only is Mike Achikopa the best Epcot entertainment ever, that's good. But yeah, the cast members, having seen it from the view of my son, of course, who's a cast member in the college program, everything that the cast members do down there it was so important this week, especially as I got to hear the different preparations and what they had to do. And, from each, it doesn't matter where, but especially those resort cast members,
Right.
that are on the ride out crew, which they show up, in the afternoon of when it was supposed to get bad, and they pack a bag and they can't leave until it's safe to leave. And so my son did not get chosen to do that, but his roommate did at Animal Kingdom Lodge. And so, he went in and you're on. I mean, you get time to go to bed, but then you got to be right back in the morning. Entertaining guests. And I saw a few comments, people saying, oh, the cast members are loving it. They think that this is what they want to do. I thought, well, yeah, they do. But I will tell you, there were some exhausted cast members going through that. And so, all thanks and praise go out to the cast members that got through, everything that happened. Obviously, the folks down in Fort Myers, it's horrible. It happened down there, and Disney World was spared, anything like that. But there's some hardworking cast members that deserve a lot of thanks. Anybody that's down there, thank a cast member for everything that they do.
Yeah. So wait, going back to the Animal Kingdom Lodge story, I'm kind of curious about this. So they have to stay, right? Because they're kind of like on call or on duty. Do they like put them all? Like, I'm just trying to picture where they're sleeping. Like, are they putting like cots into like a room or something? And there's like 3 or 4 of them, like sharing a space. Do you know?
I don't know exactly, because Hugh would have had to do it as a contemporary if he would have been chosen to do that. He made it sound like there's a few rooms, and I don't know. He said you'd have to be with other people, and I don't know if he meant 1 or 3. It could have been, where they quadruple up with a couple beds. I don't know for sure, but I know he said that it's, you're there and you get time to go to the room and for a short time and sleep, but you're kind of going without a lot of sleep too, to get through the couple days that the parks were closed. And nobody.
That's why, Mike, you couldn't find rooms for some of your guests because we had to have the extra cast members,
And this is again, like Scott, I don't know if you just heard Wade while you were calling in, Scott said, this would have made an outstanding Disney Plus documentary, right? The behind the scenes logistics of how this all goes down.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. It was very well. I mean, it's very well scripted, and we were obviously concerned about Hugh down there, but he was at his apartment with, they were filling up pots and pans with water in case the power went out so they could flush the toilets. And somebody said, well, just tell them to fill up the bathtub. I'm like, well, the apartments don't have bathtubs. They got stand-up showers. So they had all these pots and pans filled, but everything that Disney gives them what to do and how to do it. But then, also from just the logistical part of it, when they had to leave, had to be back, the ride out crew, when they had to be at the hotels, what they had to do, some restaurants were closed at some resorts. Other resorts, if a resort was enclosed, it typically had the restaurants open. And so you got the cooks and waiters and everybody there also that's riding it out too. Right. They can't leave. They don't drive home, then come back. And these are typically
which makes sense. Like it's not safe for them to leave. So that I never thought about this, but it makes 100% sense. I've always kind of wondered, like, what does the cast do in this case? Because it's not fair for them to drive home or try to find a place for them to stay. It makes sense that they stay during the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. And resorts that don't have like enclosed, Wilderness Lodge, of course, I saw somebody again post on Facebook saying it's not true. All the restaurants are open. We're at Wilderness Lodge are all open. I'm like, yeah, well, they are there, but you go to Pop Century and they're not because you have to go outside to get to, the dining area. So they did have like sack lunches and dinners, things like that for people to pick up. But yeah, it's logistically again, you got thousands of employees, but I can't say enough about all the cast members and what they did to, they got the parks opened on Friday. Again, a bit of a phased reopening, but from everybody picking up branches and leaves and trees that fell down to, to again the resorts and the buses and all that. It's a major operation for sure.
So let me ask you this. I'm curious about this though, like as far as how the role might change in a week like this, where Hugh's working at a resort at Walt Disney World, and he has his typical role before the storm rolls through. But during a situation like this, obviously what Disney did was they closed down bookings through October 3rd. Like you cannot book a new hotel room through October 3rd because I guess that was so they had the rooms for the the maneuverability was just what you're talking about for ride out crews, extra staff, accommodating people that can't get home, so forth with flights.
Right.
But so they're typical. Are they more dealing with like logistics of people that are on site rather than their normal roles? Like, what kind of new stuff did you hear that they're doing in a situation like this that they're not normally doing on a typical day?
Yeah, you had to become, if you're in the ride out crew, you became somewhat of an entertainer as well. Whether you're leading a dance party in the ballroom at the Contemporary or playing bingo, or you may be working in guest operations or concierge or whatever. All hands on deck, and you became part of the. I don't know if you saw any of the like scripted activities that they did. 12 o'clock dance party, 12:30 bingo, 1 o'clock, whatever it might be, sing along karaoke, things like that. You end up having to do that as well too. So it was a bit of all hands on deck, and not necessarily your regular job. Now, of course, somebody calls for coffee, and you work at the resort, and you got to take coffee to the room, then you do that. But they also had people, distribution of meals and like I said, entertainment, kind of like they have the poolside parties, things like that. So yeah, it's all hands on deck. So Hugh could certainly speak to it a lot better than I could. And like I said, his roommate did at Animal Kingdom Lodge. But yeah.
And it was more like a sign up thing, right? Like, was it like, were they taking like volunteers? I'm guessing is how it kind of went down.
What? I'm sorry, what's that?
Were they taking like volunteers? I'm guessing first, right? Like, so, hey, do you want to volunteer for this? And then I'm sure they got enough volunteers, but then it might be like, well, you're going to have to do this now since we didn't get enough folks volunteering, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you get paid. You get paid overtime, typically. Hugh didn't put his name out there first because he was in like day 6 of an 8-day stretch of working. It's not the typical, 5 days on, 2 days off. Although we did have this weekend off for the first time since he's been down there. But yeah, he was like, hey, I got to go back in. I think he went back in on Friday, of course. Then so he's like, yeah, I didn't put my name out there, but they could have, called him and said, hey, yeah, we really need you to do this if they didn't have enough for the ride out crew. But they did it. He was at the Contemporary at the time, and so they had enough.
That's interesting though, because if I would have been in Hugh's spot, I understand like he was at a long stretch there, but I'm just kind of one of those nerds. Like when I worked at Space Camp, I did that because I had a passion for it, not because I made any money on it. We got paid dirt, we got paid nothing. And I mean, I was a teacher with a degree at that point, but I spent my 2 summers working down there teaching other teachers. But I loved it. And like I worked double. So what you would do is because the teachers, their program went 6 days. It went from Tuesday to Sunday. And they started their curriculum at 7 o'clock in the morning and it ended at 10 o'clock at night. And the way it worked was you had a morning team leader and an evening team leader. But I did doubles. I had my team the entire time. So I did both shifts each week because I loved it. Like I wanted to do it all while I was there because it was only for 8 weeks every summer. And it was one of those things like I wanted every experience, like anything we could do. Like I was like, oh, we're going on a tour of Marshall Space Flight Center. Sign me up. Yeah, I want to go, and I think, and I bet you he was kind of in that same type of thing. Like while you're on your program, when you have unique experiences like this, give it a shot. And I bet he'll get that opportunity. When you mentioned the Contemporary, that's interesting because to me, during a hurricane, The Contemporary is probably the most prone of the hotels to have any kind of impact from a hurricane, typically because of the big windows and the A-frame tall building.
Hmm. Yeah, that's probably true. That is probably true. Yeah, I told him to do it. And he goes, "Dad," because well, also his other roommate works at Epcot in merchandise, and he was a little bit would have been at the apartment by himself. I think he was a little bit like, I don't want to stay with him, just
Yeah.
us at least here together, the two of us riding this out. And he goes, and plus he goes, I did 31,000 steps each of the last few days of the Contemporary. He goes, man, my feet are killing me,
Dang,
and
no kidding.
you know what? I'm lucky if I don't have to do it. So I didn't blame him.
No,
Yeah,
that's a lot of steps. Wow.
He's enjoying a lot of stuff, that's for sure.
So did you guys have any trouble keeping up with Hugh during the height of the storm? Was communication an issue, or was it still intact?
You know, they never lost power there, and well, funny thing is, I said, well, you got a power bank to charge your phone, right? And he goes, no, I left it at home.
Oh, dude,
In Lincoln,
that is Paige and Mallory. Kids never. I'm you know me. If you've been with me at Walt Disney World, I'll carry 7 in my pocket.
Yeah.
It's like I have enough for like a week at any point. Like if you need juice, I got you. I got every kind of cable, and I got 7 external batteries. But Mallory will walk out of this house with her phone like on 17%, like thinking she's gonna last the whole day. Stop.
Okay. I ended up sending them on Amazon, and it kept being delayed a day. It was supposed to get there on Monday, and it was supposed to get there on Tuesday. I think it got there Wednesday, and finally, so I said, charge that sucker up, charge your laptop, charge all that stuff up, so you have it then at least. And like I said, I had to send him one. So, but no, we were able to, we FaceTimed a little bit, and he showed us out the window, walked out the front door, and then his roommate's parents, who Shelly kind of got to know a little bit. They were texting back and forth, and they were checking in with him in the middle of the night. How's it going? And so we got updates that way by text throughout the night, and then the next day, of course, too, as it kind of passed over. But they never lost power at Flamingo Crossing, so that was nice. And they really didn't have much damage there. Some cars, I think, were damaged a little bit by rain and wind, and some trees. It's a newer complex, so some of the newer trees. And the ground's so saturated down there, too. It rains every day in the summer. And so it couldn't hold a lot of ground. So there's a lot of flooding around. But, it was fine. So we were thankful for that. It was a little scary, having your son be done. You're watching that going on the weather the website, NOAA website, or watching that course of that hurricane. It originally was tracking right at Orlando, and then it swung a little south, which helped, all the folks there, at least at Disney too.
We're just glad everybody's safe, because like Scott and I said at the top of the show, that's the one thing about this show is that we've made so many friends, and now we have so many connections to Florida that these storms hit home now. Like it used to be, I was in Missouri. I didn't know anybody in Florida. It was a peninsula where I went to play. And now, it scares me. So I'm glad Hugh's safe and all of our friends are safe. Yeah,
for sure. But anybody's going to thank a cast member, give them an extra thanks or a cast compliment if they do something, something above and beyond, or even just doing a good job. For sure, they deserve it.
Absolutely. Well, hey, hang in there with that Husker cold. I think I have the same thing.
Yeah, I tell you what, I got this. I'm supposed to fly this week, and I'm like, oh no, I'm like, I tested negative for COVID 5 times in a row, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do. My ears all plugged up, but I'm like, this is what we used to get in 2019. A cold, bronchitis.
Used to be called a cold. Yeah, exactly. I don't have a cold. I just screamed for 3. My whole scream was Stetson, because it drove the Georgia fans in front of me crazy. They got mad every time I did it. So, of course, I did it for 3 solid hours. Yeah.
Well, Nebraska won again, which was the first win over a Power 5 conference team in 364 days. I'm glad they didn't go a whole year winning a game.
364. Okay, I'll tell you, K-State's looking pretty good with that quarterback they got.
Yeah, I heard that guy's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's been playing college football for 19 years.
He's been playing for a decade. Yeah,
he played in the Big 8, I think.
What? I think it'd be hilarious if he won a Heisman Trophy. But I tell you, he's putting up big numbers. So he's got a good offensive line, a good defense. So
yeah,
big Adrian Martinez.
Well, I heard a Kansas fan this morning call into college sports radio saying that Nebraska should definitely poach the K-State coach because they want obviously they want to keep their coach at Kansas. They don't want Leopold or whatever his name is getting poached. So it was a great call. I hate Kansas, but I cracked up about the call.
Yeah, Leopold coached in Nebraska too. That's why there's kind of like this talk of like maybe he'll come back to Nebraska. So he was here like 15 years ago as an assistant, as a grad assistant, I think, actually. So yeah, both those coaches are doing well.
I can't even watch game day this week. I can't even turn it on. I'm so disappointed. It's going to be in Lawrence. All right, you get me. All right, see you, Wade. Thanks for calling in. You guys stay safe.
See you, buddy.
Hey guys, good to chat. Take care. Have a good night.
Take care. Bye. Bye. We cannot not talk sports.
I know. I try my hardest, but it's tough.
It's so hard.
That was some good, like, in like some little background on the cast with like the cruise, that stay overnight. Like that's interesting. And like I've always wondered about that, and it makes sense. It was good to hear that from Wade, like, confirming that and kind of what they do, and that's awesome. Another big kudos to the cast members.
100%. You know what it reminded me of when he brought up that kind of he said scripted activities. I like that term. It reminded me very much of like the cruise director staff on a cruise, right?
That's what I was gonna say.
It's not. I mean, it sounds exactly like a cruise on land.
Dude, if you're like a member of the cruise staff, like you have like 15 jobs that you do. I swear, like, from hosting this trivia, and now you're probably in the kitchen too doing stuff, like it's crazy. And that's exactly what I thought too. And I thought about like their sleeping arrangement. They're probably like in this small room in cots,
right,
like with like 5 cots in this tiny space, getting a quick rest before they go back out.
See, that'd be my jam though. Like if I was Hugh's age, now I'm old, right? But back in the day, like I would have eaten that up because it was, it's going to be short term. It's not going to be like for 3 months. It's going to be for a few days, and you're going to get to do something totally different than the norm, and you're going to have you're going to work your butt off. I mean, you're going to work hard, but I mean, that's what most of these kids down there that are working on everybody, that they're not against hard work. They work hard every day.
I know. Just with my personality, I would have loved been like a host of like a trivia or something or whatever it is. Like that would have been so much fun.
Ballroom dancing, I couldn't do that. I can't juggle, but I could do some trivia. I could host.
But it would be entertaining to watch a guy who's supposed to be like a magician juggler not juggle. Like that's funny.
Exactly. Oh, well, good show tonight, Scott. This is always fun, and do it again next Sunday night.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, hey, we're gonna get out of here, and of course, we have shows this week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for your listening pleasure. And we always appreciate you listening to the podcast. You guys make this so much fun. Our shows are always brought to you by The Magic for Less Travel. Check them out for all of your Disney trip planning needs. They're over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link when you shop online. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And a sincere thank you to the patrons of the Be Our Guest Podcast. You make all these shows possible. Check out all the information over at patreon.com/beourguestpodcast. Give Scott a follow on the social media on Sunday mornings and sometimes Saturdays too. You get the odds on him winning in his golf rounds, and it's pretty
Spoiler alert, I always lose. But
well, I mean, you never know though. It's just going to make the victory sweeter when it happens. Yes. Check him out at Epscot, EPSCOT on Instagram and Twitter. I'm at Be Our Guest Mike on Instagram and Twitter as well. You got to be a Mizzou fan to get my latest reel, or at least go and check out the highlights from Saturday night's game. We have a gigantic kicker. He's known as the thicker kicker. He's huge, but he can drill field goals.
Okay, I've wondered. So I said that to Elizabeth yesterday while watching the game, and I'm like, and he was drilling them yesterday.
That's what he's known as.
But I was like, that guy is huge, Elizabeth. She's like, no, he just looks like a normal football player to me. I'm like, no. If he was lined up, if he was lined up to other kickers, you would understand.
He's like a linebacker.
That guy is humongous.
Yeah, I mean, he's his whole thing. I mean, we even announce him as when he hits the field goals. It's good. It's the thicker kicker.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
I didn't know that guy is. Yeah, that guy should be like an offensive lineman, man. He's crazy.
And he's crazy too. His brother's like a great kicker too up in Iowa. I think he's Iowa State, one of those. Anyway, again, here we go talking football. We apologize. We cannot help it. But we're going to be back again next Sunday night. Of course, join us for that 7:00 Eastern, 6:00 Central. But until then, we love you guys. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. The thicker kicker.
Oh, shout out. I forgot to tell Wade came and he joined my live Instagram today. because the course we played, it has their 17th hole is a replica of TPC Sawgrass.
Oh
the
no,
famous,
I used to play that one all the time on Tiger
yeah, the
Woods.
famous
Just
like
one
island green
island.
hole. So
Yeah,
our
I
this
know what I'm
this
talking
golf
about.
course is like the exact yardage, exact everything. And I went live and we hit 12 straight balls in the water.
Shut up. You did not.
We
You put
did.
12 like good balls in the water or water balls?
So we all hit our normal ball in the water, and then we went to the championship tees to be more like on the PGA level. Like, oh, we can still hit this green from here. We all missed, and then my buddy Jake just brought like a bunch of bad balls, and then we all like started hacking them. Yeah, we could not.
Did anybody get it on eventually?
So we're like, we're gonna keep rolling this until one of us gets on. So my friend Jake got on, my friend, we call him Cuddy, got on, and then me and Bob missed again. So I will tell you, I got on from the drop zone. So I went to the drop zone and I did stick it, but the pin was like up front and it was like a downhill. I almost like putted it into the water.
Here's the
It
thing.
was so bad.
Real quick about golf. I swear that water is like a mental thing. Like it, so many times I've hit the ball and I swear if the water wasn't there, my shot would be okay.
Yeah.
But the water gets in my head and I swear it makes me shank the ball because I'm thinking about the water instead of hitting the ball right.
Yeah.
It's a mental thing.
Yeah, I hear you. But dude, I'll have to send you some photos. It's a gorgeous course. It's like 5 minutes from my house. I just don't play very often because it's like $130.
She said it's
to play.
probably super expensive.
It's $130, and I had a gift card from 2 years ago, so I cashed it in today. So
That's cool. That's cool. All right, well, hey, go get some dinner, and I will talk to you soon.
yeah, see you,
See you,
man. Have a
bud.
good one.
All right, see you, bro. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a good week.
Bye.